All right, welcome back, everybody. Today, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different than the usual videos, and hopefully, it is a good preparation for some videos that I have thought of doing in the future. So, what we have here is a server rack that I had purchased last week with some extra Amazon points that I had gotten from paying rent and all that kind of stuff. And what this rack it's a 12U server rack. And I'll have a picture at the end showing kind of what it looks like with my servers and everything in it. The reason that I wanted this is that up until now, kind of where that box is sitting has been where my storage server has been. And the storage server is a 36 bay 4U old Isilon, Dell Isilon storage server, I guess. It has 24 cores in the CPU and like 128 gigabytes of RAM. It's nothing too spectacular as far as server goes. But what I plan to use that for is holding a bunch of like bioinformatics data, and then I'll be able to set it up with some Docker containers and let it run as long as I want to without having my big computer running. Hopefully, this is something that can be more of a set and forget versus having to more monitor it with my big one. What I have pulled out so far here are the verticals, so you can see the squares that are in these. And what that is for is when we mount the server in there, we'll be able to screw through those and hold the server to those verticals there. And then what I just pulled out here, and then there'll be two more of them, are the adjustable parts of this server rack. So what I really needed for my big server was something that was really deep. And with the cheaper racks that I was able to find were the ones that were adjustable, and that would allow me then to kind of choose what depth I wanted to set it at. But yeah, the big one that I have, and we'll see at the end, is really deep. It's not something that, like the wood rack you can see, kind of see behind me there. That's only, I don't know, maybe 15 inches. And what that is doing, it's holding my audio interface and power strip for my computer. That way, if like there's a power surge or whatever, it doesn't wreck my computer. But this one is going to be much, much deeper. I think I have it set right now at like 26 inches or something like that to hold both of my servers. So yeah, one of them, and the audio interface and the power strip will eventually go in this too, so I can get rid of that wood rack and save some more space. So one of my servers is storage, and the other one is for compute. It has some super high speed hard, well, it's not hard drives, SSDs in it. And I didn't even know I was getting that one. I just bought the storage one, and I think they threw in the compute one for good measure. What I'm doing here is assembling the vertical and then in the front. So what is on the ground now is actually the front or back of the server, and then that piece with the square holes in it are vertical, and then you can see that adjustment piece there. I slid out of the actual side brace, and I'm screwing that in with some of these bolts here. Something that I did want to note is that every once in a while you'll see me kind of look at those bags that are on the floor there and try to figure out, back with the original picture for the server manual, if you will, what actually is what. So the bags that they have there on the ground are not labeled. So for some things with the picture, it's really hard to tell whether or not they want a bolt or they want a spacer. So right next to my knee, there's black ring spacers, and they're like washers. But in the picture, it's really hard to tell whether or not you use a washer or you're using a nut to screw it in. And then there's a bag of bolts, and then there's a bag of screws, and then another bag of smaller screws. And after kind of getting further into it, it makes more sense kind of what goes where, but it's not intuitive or easy to understand with kind of how they have the pictures without the pictures and labels in the manual without having the bags labeled as to what is actually what. And you can see me here putting in the now other front or back braces and stuff. And then what this will be able to do is slide together with those actual side braces that are adjustable as soon as this is all tightened up. I think I'll do that pretty quickly here. That way I can get the front and the back aligned well enough to be able to put the top part on, because the top is going to have those adjustable parts as well. So having the bottom thrown together makes it a lot easier to get the top braces put together. You can see that's the front there. It has the Vivo logo or emblem on it. But you can see the top is just like the bottom. You bolt on the frame front or the back just like the bottom, and then those side adjustable parts. So in the box, they actually did ship with a wrench sort of thing, but it's really small. So what I did is I went and got a socket that you can see there. It's just the small socket. And for these big bolts that are kind of the front and the back frame holding ones, those are 13 millimeter socket that I was using, or the head size on the bolt is 13 millimeters. We'll see here in a little bit that there's also another size that is for the side. So the adjustable part uses those plastic washers that I was saying is really hard to kind of understand what it's wanting to do. And then a different sized bolt, which again makes it difficult to kind of understand what goes where until you're starting to screw things together. But that's a different size bolt, and that's a 10 millimeter, just for reference. Here I'm putting on the wheels, and we'll see me run and get a screwdriver here, and I'll show the head of that screwdriver. Each wheel gets 4 nuts on it, and then in the corner where there isn't that frame that's kind of hanging out in no man's land, it actually gets a bolt that goes through, and that bolt is something that doesn't tighten up. You can imagine if you just hold it with your fingers and try to tighten it with a bolt nut, it doesn't tighten up extremely tight. It'll end up just spinning when the socket's spinning the nut. So here I am going and getting that other socket size. Let's see, flip them around there. But yeah, each wheel gets 4 of those. Not much to be said here. It is kind of a pain to get the wrench in there. You got to spin the tire or the wheel around to get the wrench in the socket. Well, yeah, the socket head in there, but it does work as long as you make sure the direction that the wheel is facing, it doesn't interfere with the socket. And there's also standoffs that I'll throw on there too. I don't remember how far off that goes, but what I'm doing here, as you can see, when I put the first bolt in, I'm trying to shift the wheel as far in the same direction for everything as possible. That way, hopefully, they're all level. Since the wheels aren't adjustable, I want them all to be able to sit on the floor at the same time. That way the rack isn't wobbling from corner to corner, for example. It's actually firmly placed on the ground. So I try to get them pushed out as far as I possibly can. Get the base of the server rack pretty firm. And here I am. I'm pretty sure this is where I go get the screwdriver with that big head. Oh yeah. So I highly recommend, since the other 3 nuts go on there and you can secure them extremely tightly, it's fine if you don't put the third or the fourth one on there tight. But you can see here, I show this is a really broad tipped Phillips head. That way, if you are coming at an angle, you can still get a hold of that that nut under the screw head under there. It's not a bolt head, so you can't put a socket on it. You have to actually use a screw driver, which is kind of unfortunate. But here I'm showing where those standoffs go. They go right next to the wheels, and I don't think I'm going to use these, but they are pretty nice to have. So if we wanted to wheel the server rack where its home is going to be, the final place, then we'd be able to drop those down and get the wheels off the ground. That way we wouldn't have to worry about it rolling away or something like that. But I think it's just going to go right there where that picture frame is in that corner, and then get rid of that wood rack. Now we flip it back over, And now this is where I secure in those extension pieces of the server. Oh, no. So this is a cable management clips. This uses another screwdriver head. So it's got to be much more pointed. And here I'm showing that. The first one was really broad, and this one's much more pointed. That way it can kind of get in, because you got to go in kittywampus with the clip and make sure that you can get the screwdriver into the screw head still. But there's 4 of these, which is kind of handy. So if we have a network cable, I can't see it on the screen. There's a gray one off to the left that I had it plugged into. When I move it over to the right hand side, get the server rack over there, then I'll have that network cable run probably behind the kind of entertainment thing there, and then it'll be able to plug into the server rack, but it'll run through those clips. And here's the screw or the bolts that go into the side, and that's what holds it from shifting forward and back once you have it in the length that you actually want the rack to be in, the adjustable part. So I'm just going to put in 1 or 2 here just to show, and then I'll show the actual server rack. Here we go. So that middle one is the Isilon Dell rack, and then I wasn't able to figure out how to get the compute server, which is the one on the bottom, to hold up in the actual rack itself. The frame of it was really hard to figure out. I was eventually able to get it there, but the mounts of it didn't really make any sense. But I think it comes in from the front and in from the back, so you have to kind of clip it in there, whereas the Isilon server storage server has these little nuts that kind of go through the square holes there, and it just sits. It doesn't really mount per se. The compute server actually mounts, and that's what this second picture is showing here. I was able to figure it out. Kind of clips in there, so you have to actually extend the slides there past those square holes in the front and the back, and then it pinches forward and backwards in order to get the server mounts to grab onto 1, each other, and then 2, the actual rack itself. And then the server, the actual compute server, just slides right in that, which is really handy. But in here, I'll be able to put I left 2 spaces at the bottom. I'll be able to put the audio interface there, as well as the power distribution, so the actual surge protector. That way, if some crazy thing happens with Florida power, you never know what's going to happen. The servers, the computers are actually safe. You're not going to have something wreck that, which is great. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. I'm hopefully going to put some videos out soon using these. Have TrueNAS scale running on the storage server, and then you can access that from anywhere at home. And then the compute server, we might be able to do some cool stuff with computing. Yeah. Thank you guys. Bye.